Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is Cinematics.
Hey everyone, it's another week, a new week of Cinematics, a new episode. This is episode, I believe, 210 of Cinematics. Bruce Perky, my better with the black rose shirt. Am I right with the Cinematics episode 210? Is that the right numerical number? Yes.
It's the number I put on the sheet, so it must be possibly right. Yes.
You're the only person I trust. I don't trust you, Eric Holmes, for I don't trust you whatsoever because you do a lot of interviews. I don't even know what these movies are. I don't trust you, but I know you're a really hard worker. What have you been working on the last, I guess, week since we've last spoken? What have you been working on?
A bunch of stuff. I guess most notably, I've been trying to get an interview with Jonathan Quartos, the writer-director of My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To, which is one of my favorite movies. And we got it's like 30, 40-minute interview. Basically just gives out throughout the interview, basically just gives out a here's how to make an independent movie. And it was really fun talking with him. I also made a board game for the Film Vault, and we did a playthrough for that. And so I was cutting the video just before we jumped on here, and I will continue cutting once we leave. And so that'll be up shortly. I'm guessing by next week, I'll be able to tell everyone where they can see that.
Are you done with the Film Vault game? Are you finished with all of the stuff? Are you ready to go out to market with all the film vaulters and whatnot with that game?
Almost. It's a couple slight tweaks, doing a playthrough in person and then doing a playthrough online. I've never done a playthrough online before, so it kind of shows you issues with the rules that you might not have known otherwise. But now I know them and I can adjust them.
And what are the interviews you've been working on? I know it's swimming in your head. You probably forgot some of them because I forget who I interviewed because we've done so much.
Well, some of them I haven't done yet. But oh Jesus. What? I think I got one for 57 seconds, which we'll talk about briefly today.
With Rusty Cundiff, you just did it, or it's coming?
No, I got 3 of them tomorrow, and that's one of them. Okay. Got 57 seconds, some movie called No Accident, some interviews for VHS 85, also of which we'll be talking about today.
Okay. You have interviews tomorrow for VHS 85 too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's what it says here. And I believe I got another one for a movie called Onyx the Fortuitous.
Okay, who are you gonna get the director?
I think so. That's all in the emails.
All in the emails. All right.
A lot of this came together like yesterday, so I was like, got to do a lot of cramming.
You possibly okay. You're gonna have to see for that Fortuitous movie before tomorrow, I guess. And then I think you might actually. Who knows? Maybe Barbara Crampton. You might interview her down the road. Possibly, maybe.
I believe so. I believe it's. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure. I'll have to go and read.
Because I put in the request with the PR people just to, even though since I'm not doing the Fortuitous thing, whatever that movie is, I told them that you're not to be trusted with Barbara Crampton, so that interview's off.
That makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Bruce, what do you think? What do you think of me throwing dirt on Eric's interviews and submarining this whole thing? What do you think, Bruce?
I mean, I don't think I'd be trusted with Barbara Crampton either, so I think that's a fair assessment.
A fair assessment, Eric.
I was raised too much on From Beyond and Reanimator.
Same thing. Yeah.
But Greg, yes, you had an interview recently of another movie we'll be talking about today that I haven't not got to listen to the interview yet, but I'm excited to because I love the movie.
Okay, and I love the movie too. Whatever the movie that we're talking about, and I'm very interested to see what Bruce has to say because Bruce, voice of the reason, maybe he might tip the scales, either negative or positive, regarding the movie Miranda's Victim. That's one of the films we are covering. Okay. Patreon bonus. Last month we did Buffalo 66 and Dark City, covered the year 1998. For some reason I had a randomizer from 1980 to 2020, but for some reason I had the randomizer 1981 to 2020. I have no idea why, but for our Patreon bonus episodes, we covered the years 1980 to 2020. And here's the thing. what are we going to cover for this month? What year are we going to spotlight? I'm going to randomize that generator right now. Let's see what we got. And by the way, this is Bruce's turn to pick. So let's see the year 2013, Bruce Perky, for our bonus episode for the month of October. This month, that is 2013. 2013. The rule is Bruce will choose a movie of his liking from 2013, and then the other pick will be for our Patreon members. It's a $5 catch-all to receive our Patreon bonus episode per month. Again, last month we got 1998 with Buffalo 66 Dark City. Very good discussion there. And I guess Patreon members get, for the $5 catch-all, they get our bonus episode of Cinematics every month, plus with some extra, maybe early access interviews and spoiler stuff along with our Patreon community. So anything else? What do you guys think? 2013, do you guys have any thoughts on that year? Do you remember anything? I don't. I'm too old. 2013, Bruce, are you excited that it's closer to not in the 90s? Are you fine with 2013?
I am fine with that. I'm trying to think. I mean, it's, the older you get, the decade's a blur. I might be able to get a movie that falls into that decade, but 2013 specifically, probably can't figure it out. But usually what I do is I just go, what are the cult movies from 2013? And I see if one of those really strikes my fancy. And if not, then I just get a rom-com with Julie Roberts.
Right. Bruce's first pick, I guess. Next month will be Eric's turn. I wonder if he's going to do Trash Humpers too for his pick, but Bruce's pick, and not to throw salt on Trash Humpers, I ended up liking that movie, but his first pick, I think that was for I forgot what year that Notting Hill was, but yeah, Notting Hill, that was a very interesting pick from Bruce Perky. Let's see if he decides to go rom-com for the year 2013, or if he sticks to his horror roots. Very quickly, the features. Bruce, you're doing okay? Okay, so we got some personality for person stuff from Eric Holmes. I don't have a personality. What have you been doing
I got something
week?
for you. I got something for you, Greg. See if we can get a commitment on the air here, so to speak.
No.
So
what? Hello?
I don't know if you saw, there was a post recently, like very recently, within the last hour, that Peter Beta is going to be in your town. And
Peter Beta,
it would only be right for you to set up some sort of a meet and greet with Mr. Abeda.
Okay, I'm cutting that from the podcast. I love you and your crew, Joseph and Tyler Noe.
That's fine. I'll get him your address. He'll just show up.
These are the trio from that wonderful podcast, Middle Class Film Class. Peter Beta is a personal friend out of all of us. We all love him. Pete, I apologize. You're coming from the north down to, I don't know why you're in my parts the next 2 days. I will be busy with doing stuff here and taking care of my niece. So in the future, though, the next time you're in LA, give me a little bit more of a notice, and I'll make sure I will make time to have lunch with you and to break bread and talk cinema and all things movies and podcasting with you, Peter Beta. Sorry, I can't make it this go round in LA.
He's bringing a date. It's going to be like King of Comedy. He's just going to show up, and it's going to be fine. Don't worry about
it. Rupert Pumpkin, right? Is that Rupert or Rupert?
Pumpkin. Pumpkin. You're get it wrong.
Rupert Pumpkin.
You're making to make him mad. You know when he gets mad, he's not very friendly. I don't know.
Yes. Please, Pete. Have fun in LA, and I will see you next time, Peter Beta from Middle Class Film Class. Now, thanks for calling me out, Bruce, for that one. Bruce knows I never leave the house, and I never associate. Look,
you don't have to leave the house. He's already got the map to the stars. I'm sure you're on there.
Pete, I love you, man. I'll give you a little bit of a frame reference. Eric and Bruce are the only humans I talk to other than my niece and my mom. They don't even hear from me. They hear from me once every 7 days. Anderson Cowan, the co-creator of Cinematics, he actually called me 3 weeks ago just to see how I was doing. And he's almost, I talked to him a little bit, and that's the last time I talked to Anderson. So Pete, I'm just saying, I will make the time to build that bridge with you and friendship down the road. I apologize.
I just like watching Greg squirm in this situation. It's amazing.
Okay, Pete, love you. And by the way, Middle Class Film Class, go check it. They're a great podcast. Hopefully that will balance my reluctance to see another human being in 2 days. All right, let's get to our features. I love you, Pete. We got a VHS 85. We have Miranda's Victim. We have Aberrance, or This is a Mongolian horror film. Credit to Bruce for tackling that movie. I'm not going to throw salt. I said throw salt 3 times to Eric for not watching Aberrance, because this episode will be filled with Eric Holmes' reviews, because he has other movies not that are featured to recommend. So Aberrance, that's a Mongolian horror film. And then finally, me and Eric will watch this. Thank God, Bruce, you're not reviewing this movie. It's a movie called From Sean McNamara. I love Sean McNamara. And in fairness, Bruce, you did love, or enjoy at least, that director Sean McNamara's film Spare Parts from a year back when you saw it. The one with George Lopez, the sort of the family movie. Remember?
Yeah. That was a fun. I mean, it was some kind of formulaic somewhat, but in a good way. Yeah.
Yeah, so you actually like that movie. So I'm not saying that you don't like Sean McNamara's films, but who knows? Maybe Eric has seen Vindicta. Hopefully, he might have kind of liked it. That's a movie that stars Elena Kampouris, she of Children of the Corn fame. So we'll see what Eric Holmes. And I liked her. And
come on, that's not what you remember her for, though. Really.
Yeah, for speaking Mandarin to me about a year and a half ago. I love Elena Kampouris.
Didn't she sing to you too, or something?
She said, yeah, she's a wonderful human being, and I almost.
Greg has it on a loop. Don't worry, he has it on a loop.
Stop it, Bruce. I almost love Elena Kampouris as much as I love Peter Beta. How's that? How's that for that? So yeah, Pete, I'm gonna.
The test is, who would you invite over first?
Peter Beta, of course. Pete, we love you. Okay. So VHS 85. I did not see it. It streams on Shudder on Friday. Let's get to this. This is it. Shudder, October 6th. Eric Holmes, Bruce Purkey, both of them are horror enthusiasts. I am assuming that they are both anthology enthusiasts as well. Let's start with who wants to tackle the description of it, or what. Eric or Bruce, you take the reins on how to describe VHS 85.
So, yeah, it is certainly an anthology. This one, more than the past VHSs I've seen, this one seems more kind of cohesive in the sense that all of them seem like actual found footage. Like there's certain supernatural things that happen in it, but a lot of it actually feels like less staged and more like this is just footage they found and something weird is going on or something crazy is going on.
Is that a good thing? The fact that it's more cohesive, is that a compliment or not?
Yeah. And also I think it made it seem more dirty. Like this one seemed, bring up August Underground. Not that there's like a bunch of torture, although sometimes there is. But this feels a lot more dirty than previous versions that I've seen. A lot less set up and more like you found a VHS on the ground, picked it up, put it in, and it's trash humpers. Like it's got that kind of feel to it. As far as like a standout one on this like what was the last one? VHS, the one with the Deadstream guy.
Yeah, I can lose track of the numbers. Or VHS 86. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like the last one, the last one,
right?
The one that the Deadstream guy did was definitely the standout. This one, I'm having trouble finding a standout because to me they all kind of blend together. And even the interstitial stuff, it's hard sometimes to realize if you're in another of the segments because they kind of blend together. And there's like the interstitial stuff is kind of messy, so it just kind of eventually get into there. And then you might be like a minute or two, this must be the next segment. I didn't realize.
Okay. Well, Bruce, here's the thing. I'm looking at the directors. David Bruckner from The Night House, Hellraiser. That's a quality filmmaker. Scott Derrickson, The Black Phone, Sinister, Gigi Saul Guerrero. Don't know Saul Guerrero, but Bingo Hell, Culture Shock. And then Natasha Kermani, who I liked from Lucky. I don't know if you guys liked Lucky as much as I did, but I really enjoyed Lucky. And Mike Nelson from Wrong Turn. Eric was talking about they kind of blended together. Did they feel like a seamless blend for you and not non-distinctive, or did you get a little bit more value from maybe certain sections of this movie?
I'm kind of similar to Eric on this one. I think that more, I guess a lot of the other ones have more peaks and valleys. And I think this maybe doesn't have quite as high a peaks as the last couple had. There might be a consistently more of a similar level. I don't think any of them are super, like, I don't think any of these are like all out clunkers, which I think the other ones would have a few that were clunkers. But I don't know if there's one of these that maybe is a star. Although A couple things I'll call out. So first of all, I would agree. The found footage side seems to really work like consistently throughout the segments. The interstitial segment is the best of the last three because the last couple did not have good interstitial kind of connecting segments, or they weren't very interesting. This one at least has some interesting stuff going on and kind of rounds out the show. One other thing that I thought was interesting about this, well, first of all, the first segment, which is it's kind of the classic, a bunch of teenager types, early 20s types going out to camping at what I wrote it down, Lake Evil, apparently, because they found the sign on the ground that said, "Welcome to Lake Evil." They're going to Lake Evil, and then something happens to them that's not really related to the lake, but kind of is related to the lake. That's kind of your classic teens go out and something bad happens to them kind of story. But what really struck me about that one is a later segment directly links to that, which I did not expect. And I don't think I've seen that happen in any of the other VHS series. I could be wrong, but I don't remember that ever happening. That was kind of fun. And I really liked the last segment quite a bit too, which is when Eric talked about them kind of feeling dirty and stuff. I think that was the most of that to me, where you have tapes, VHS tapes of, let's say, crimes happening being sent to the police. And there's kind of a twist to that story. But each of those tapes, like putting those tapes in and kind of watching them unfold, kind of reminded me of Sinister a little bit, where you just find these tapes and each tape you see, you're like, oh. Anytime you see a tape where it's this grungy VHS recording of someone walking into someone's house and you don't know what's going to transpire, that's always a little bit anxiety inducing. So I think overall, though, it was, I would say, solid, not bad, not great. That would kind of be where I fall.
Bruce, maybe slightly disappointing because I know that you've appreciated previous iterations of the VHS franchise. Possibly,
I think that the last one I would probably rate a little lower than this one, although the last one had the great high of that one final one. I think was really, really good, but overall, I don't think it quite struck me. The one before it, though, was the one I think that we really liked. All of us liked quite a bit. That had Ratma and all that stuff in it. That one, that one was pretty great. That one was memorable. This one is solid. Like this is, to me, it's Saturday night. It's October. You want something to watch with the friends, and you want it to be kind of solidly fun and not boring. You have new things happening all the time. I would put this right on.
Eric, you agree with that? It's the fact that it's just solid through and through, this VHS 85, and okay.
Yeah. Like Bruce said, there's no peaks, no valleys. It's all it's all consistently good, I would say. And also, didn't mention, I believe Guar shows up for a couple frames.
They do. That's true.
I had to rewind that. I'm like, wait, was that Ballsack Jaws of Death? Oh, it was.
Last thing. Also, the best, the best payoff to an ongoing clip of some 80s jazzer size kind of thing that keeps showing up. There's a great payoff to that bit too in this movie.
I would also mention that they really lean into the VHS camcorder aesthetic of this. And in doing so, it gets really shaky at times. So do not get far away from the screen. I could not imagine watching this in the theater. I'd be throwing up like halfway through.
Or put on your VR goggles and enjoy.
No.
I guess I'm just feeling I'm feeling like tormenting people tonight, apparently.
I like that. I like the tormentor, Bruce. Bruce the Butcher and Bruce the Tormentor. Now, Eric, what is your rating on VHS 85 Friday, October 6th on Shudder? What is your rating?
I'd probably go like 3.5 on this. Because, like I said, there's no highs, there's no lows, but I do appreciate the consistency throughout and how it kind of feels of a whole. And that you don't usually see in anthologies. So, oh shit, maybe go for it. But yeah, I think 3.5 is definitely a recommend. Definitely a recommend. But also, like most anthologies, if you're not liking this at the beginning, you're probably not going to like the rest of it. Whereas most anthologies is, if you don't like this, stick around for the next one because you'll probably like that. That doesn't really work here because they're all kind of similar throughout.
Bruce, I'm assuming that you have the same kind of rating, the same rating as Eric on this, maybe?
Yeah, 3.5. That's exactly where I was going to rate it too.
Okay, that's 3.5 for VHS 85, reviewed by Eric Holmes and Bruce Berkey. Whenever we review a Shudder film, there is a sort of a Marcel Proustian lament that I feel really horrible that even though we review so many movies, we started off with Bruce loving Shudder so much, and we would cover, if I recall on Find Your Film, a lot more Shudder releases when we did Giallo. The more movies we have to see outside the Shudder realm, I have a feeling that Bruce is that person on a boat looking on a ferry looking at across the shores, like, oh, I wish I was just watching so many Shudder movies. Bruce, you ever feel that way, that you don't spend enough quality time with Shudder because you have to see so many different movies every week?
No. I mean, I really do like the weird variety we get. And I honestly, we get clunkers, to me at least, once in a while. But that kind of that thing of just literally knowing nothing about a movie and putting it on and seeing what you get. And sometimes it's an amazing movie. So I like that a lot.
I really hope sometimes it's an amazing movie refers to Miranda's Victim.
Mr. Miranda, a girl was grabbed on 7th Street on Saturday night, right around the same time that you got out of work. Can you describe the man?
Number one looks like him.
Tell me everything, and don't leave anything out.
I'm testifying. Are you sure about this?
All rise.
I don't want to see you become damaged goods. It's not just for me.
The prosecution calls Patricia Ann Shumway.
What about the next girl?
Promise I'm going to put this guy in jail for a long time.
The jury has found you guilty as charged.
Hello, Ernest. John Flynn.
Can you get me out of here?
I believe I can.
Aren't you going to ask me if I'm guilty?
I'm far more interested in why you signed that confession.
I know what you're trying to do. A man's as guilty as sin.
The issue is whether this defendant's confession should have been allowed in evidence.
It was coercion, plain and simple.
There was not an attorney present.
Don't make him the face of your crusade. What about Miranda's victim?
I really don't care.
Objection, Your Honor.
Your Honor, you must stop this! You must stop this now! The cases before us raise questions.
What if they say he's not guilty?
The Supreme Court might make us retry him.
The whole world wants nothing but to take from us.
Miranda did not request counsel, therefore, we reverse.
And being locked away is the only thing that lets me sleep at night. It's just so hard to have to keep reliving this over and over. She's worked so hard. She's doing what's right.
Mr. Miranda, our justice system has afforded you every privilege, every protection. Hey! This is a courtesy not extended to your victim.
I am stealing myself for Bruce Perky's review. I am nervous because I think, spoiler alert, both Eric and I really love this courtroom drama. I'm just going to very quickly, it's directed by Michelle Danner. Just interviewed her today. Well, yeah, and she was great speaking with her. Has an all-star cast: Abigail Breslin, Ryan Phillippe, Luke Wilson, Emily Van Camp, and so many people. Dan Lauria, Kyle MacLachlan, Andy Garcia, Donald Sutherland, Enrique Murciano, so many wonderful people. But here's the thing that's very interesting about this 126-minute drama, which the genre, for some reason in the press release, calls it a thriller, which is the movie is based on true events set in I don't know. Why is it called a thriller? Maybe more, Eric, maybe more of a courtroom drama or a drama. Would you say that's the genre?
Definitely a procedural.
Okay.
I would
like that.
think procedural is pretty fair.
All right, so
I would think Law and Order, right? I mean, it's got procedure. It's half procedural,
actually,
half courtroom.
Exactly.
Miranda's Victim, based on true events, set in 1963, centers on 18-year-old Trish Weir, again a real person, played by Abigail Breslin in just a fantastic performance. She's kidnapped and sexually assaulted by a stranger named Ernesto Miranda, played by Sebastian Quinn, and eventually she takes him to court. He is sent to prison for this is all fact-based stuff. Okay, so we're not going to talk about all the facts here, but she takes him. It's about her taking Ernesto Miranda to court and trying to mete out justice in the proceedings. Of course, this is 1963, and what's weird and sad is a lot of rape convictions don't actually transpire even today. But think of 1963, how much guts it took Trish Weir to actually try to bring justice to her situation. Luke Wilson plays her prosecutor, the attorney, and he's very good in this movie as well. And then eventually you see, as the years progress, several years progress in the 60s, how this case eventually gets overturned, and via a Supreme Court situation, thanks to Ernesto's defense attorney, played by Ryan Phillippe. It's a very intricate movie, 126 minutes, again, over 2 hours. Every single minute, I was pretty much riveted. The movie is shot on film. When you see certain movies and it's not, I was pre-programmed to think this was going to be like a solid 3.5 movie that people like me like. I like all these movies, these type of films, but it was a real upscale regarding learning about Miranda rights, learning about just this whole person, Trish Weir, about her story. So many great things about this movie. I was absolutely surprised at how much I really enjoyed Miranda's Victim. Before we get to Eric's, I'm assuming similar kind of take on Miranda's Victim. I don't know about Bruce. What do you think about Miranda's Victim? Did it work for you on a base level, or are you following sort of my train of thought on this too?
I think I'm closer to the base level. I think it's good. Definitely when I saw the poster and stuff, I was worried because it was just a bunch of famous heads, and it just kind of this generic looking poster. And I was like, oh boy, what are we getting into here? But a lot of, great actors and stuff too. So, one of those things where it could go either way. And I think the production values were better than I expected for this kind of movie. Although I mentioned Law and Order, it does feel to me a little bit less cinematic, a little bit, even though it looks good, it feels kind of like TV movie in a way. Like
it's shot on film, which is
the way
cool.
but the way it's kind of staged, the way it's plotted, all the things about it, never gets too violent, never gets too, it's relatively safe in that aspect. It's not bad. It's just, it's a little bit mom, dad level kind of a movie in some ways. But that being said, it kept me interested throughout. It kept me following the characters. The acting was pretty darn great, especially Abigail. She's quite amazing in this. And she's been great for years, but she hasn't really got to shine like this that I can remember in a movie for quite a while. And once again, I might have just missed the other movies she's been in, but she really gets to play and do a lot in this movie. I guess if I have any kind of, other than I said, like kind of it feeling a little safe, a little TV plotting as well as that goes. Yeah. That'd be a little cut against it. The only other thing about it that's a little weird, and I couldn't quite picture what was kind of nagging at me. And once again, this is kind of, I enjoyed it. It's not, I'm going to recommend it, but the thing kind of nagged at me was there's something about the point of view of this movie that kind of throws me a little bit. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I finally, I think, figured it out. And this just could be my take on it. I'd be curious to see what other people think about this. This feels like a movie that at some degree, and not the movie, but probably the script, I'm guessing, that at some degree is saying like, well, this is how Miranda rights came to pass. Here's the untold story, quote, untold story of the woman, who went through this horrible event and how she had to fight to get justice. And it kind of felt like the whole time to me, like, isn't this Miranda right kind of in the way? Like, isn't it sad that this came to pass? And isn't it kind of like, I keep feeling like this movie is kind of like on the side of like, why can't we just let the cops do what they need to do to get to justice? Because they were getting to justice anyway here, right? Weren't they doing the right thing? Isn't it kind of cool that they were just kind of doing what they were doing? So I kind of get that vibe from this script the whole time. And even I think in the blurb, it's something like that, like something about how the real evil that was done upon was never been told, or something like that, or some kind of weird like slant to it like that. So this just feels to me like it has a little bit of an axe to grind, that this Miranda right was actually created in the first place. And wouldn't it be great if we could really just take the shackles off these poor cops that can't get stuff done? Once again, that's a minor little side like tone that I feel in here. And once again, I think it's mostly in the script. I think everyone else is here doing great work for a cause that they probably feel really strongly about. And I would say I would overall recommend it.
For some reason, I didn't read it that way. I just thought it was just tragic. I had no idea how someone's Miranda rights, the origins of that came from such a traumatic event. Eric, your thoughts on Miranda's Victim and Bruce's train of thought regarding his perceptions on Miranda's victim as well. Did you see where he's going with that?
I do. And I kind of disagree just because I saw it from a different perspective. But the Bruce's perspective is totally valid.
Yeah.
The way I saw it was Miranda rights are rights we're all afforded. And sometimes things that we need as a society or rights we need to fight for, sometimes the way we have to go about fighting it is not the cleanest way, but that doesn't make the rights any less valid. So, for example, you're behind Abigail Breslin's character, unless you're an idiot.
Yeah,
a
right.
monster. Unless you're a monster, unless you're a monster,
unless you're Miranda.
Yeah,
right.
But you're behind Abigail, but also Miranda, Ernesto Miranda, the one that raped her, the one that his namesake is Miranda rights. He's a rapist. He's a piece of crap, garbage human being, but he still deserves his rights. And that's kind of what I see this movie as saying. It's kind of like a freedom of speech doesn't end at speech you like. It goes beyond that. Nazis get freedom of speech as much as it sucks, but if everyone doesn't get it, then no one gets it. That sort of thing. So like the Miranda rights are important, and Ernesto Miranda definitely deserved them. But it's hard to get behind that, isn't it? Because like Ernesto is just such a piece of work that like how can you root for that? Ryan Phillippe's character, like he's what you would normally call the antagonist in this, but the thing he's fighting for, depending on what reason he's fighting for it, probably more selfish reasons, but the thing that he's fighting for is worth fighting for. And one of the things I love about this movie is it's so dirty in the sense of how it deals with ethics and morality. Because usually the more important conversations to have about ethics and morality do kind of get dirty from time to time. And this is just one case of that. And I also think that's what made this movie the most interesting is, we've all heard of the Miranda rights. I think very few people knew the history of that. And then to see it play out, it's like, oh God, yeah, that's, I don't know how I feel about this, but it is what it is. And I really appreciate that this movie kind of leaned into both sides, even the ugly side that we don't want to really talk about or think about.
Eric, I was really surprised by this movie. Were you surprised as well at how good this movie? I think you texted me that it was a banger. What made this a banger? All of those aforementioned things, the way it presented.
Yeah, everything I said. I was definitely surprised because like I watched it because it's courtroom drama and I love courtroom dramas. But like Bruce mentioned, that poster, Jesus. If you go online and look up the poster, don't just watch the movie.
Just read the Miranda rights to the poster creator.
Right. Look, and to Bruce's point, these are all very, very good, if not excellent actors on the poster. It's just the poster you're thinking, oh no, this is not going to be a good movie. No, it's a really good movie. I really loved it. And all three of us recommend it. I'm sorry, Eric, you were good.
Oh, and I think the movie actually looks really good. It reminded me, like, it didn't look quite as good as Zodiac, but it had the same feel to it, probably because it's set roughly around the same time. Maybe that's the reason. But I love the look of it. I was just kind of leaning in. What kind of reminds me of? Paths of Glory. Because Paths of Glory is essentially 3 movies in one. You got the war movie, then you got the courtroom drama in the middle, and then you got the prison movie at the end. This is like a kind of a rape story, and then it turns into a courtroom drama, and then it turns into it feels like it's a couple movies in one, and they all work together great. Yeah, I absolutely love this movie.
So I interviewed Michelle Danner today, and I asked her about this movie and the look, like you were saying, Eric, and she said the movie is shot on film. Her son, who is also a up-and-coming filmmaker, he said, Mom, don't shoot on film, shoot on digital. He said he was basically telling his mom, you're not up for the challenge to shoot this movie on film. But then she said she wanted to go the extra mile to shoot this movie on film. And I think it really looked good. In my opinion as well. And so I think this is a really good find for us. Miranda's Victim this week in select theaters on demand, October 6th. It's actually did a great run in the festival circuit. It won a whole bunch of awards. I am so glad that Bruce at the very base level actually was going to recommend this movie. I am absolutely surprised. Let's start with Bruce's rating for Miranda's Victim.
Probably go 3.5. Exactly the same as VHS 90, whatever we just watched.
VHS 85. Very good. 3.5 stars for Bruce Perky. look, I'm giving Miranda's Victim 4.5 stars. Really love this movie, and I'm going to highly recommend this movie to anyone who asks me. So, Eric.
This is a 5-star banger for me. Granted, this is catnip for me, but I also love how I also love how it just kind of it stayed within the gray area throughout and just kept me interested and kept my gears turning the whole time. And even the stuff that Bruce said that was kind of made him feel a certain way about that went through my head too. But also that's kind of what kept me invested in this movie and got me more and more kind of thinking about it.
And here's the thing. If you are slightly interested from our review of Miranda's Victim, and actually Michelle Danner talks about it, the ending of this movie is exactly what happened. So it's not just a courtroom drama. It's just not the courtroom drama. It's not just, there is something that happens at the end and you go, wait, did they just make that up? Nope. That's exactly what happened in real life. Oh, Eric,
I forgot all about that. So when that happened, I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit and then went right to Wikipedia as soon as the movie was over. I was like, I mean, you have to have that in there. That's exactly. I know that like just because things happen doesn't mean it has to be in the movie, but it's kind of
had to be there, right? You know, she had to fight. So. She had to fight to actually put that ending in. Can you believe that?
Really?
When you listen to the interview, she had to put that ending in.
I can't wait to hear that interview.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So that is Miranda's Victim. Now, here's my question of the day. And I feel bad. Bruce, you and I are old. We are seeing that sunset draw nearer to us. We are sailing towards it. Not sailing. We're motorboating our way to the sunset. So
I can only hope I'm motorboating my way towards the sunset.
Family show. Yeah. Sorry about that.
What?
Yeah, Eric had something in his cheek. So no, I don't know what you're talking about, Eric Holmes. Look, okay. So what was that, Mikey? What's that Mikey commercials with the cereal? What was it?
Hey, Mikey, he likes it. Yeah.
Chex? Was it Chex or Life? What was it?
It was Life. Life cereal.
So every single week, whenever there's a horror movie, that's akin to me. I go, okay, so Bruce, aka Mikey's gonna like it. I can throw a horror movie to the wall, and Bruce will scoop it up. I had no idea if any one of us was gonna go see the Mongolian horror film. I'm giving Eric a pass because he had to see 2,000 movies this week. But thank goodness Bruce Perky took the mantle for this Mongolian horror film. Aberrance, I believe. Aberrance. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
I don't know either.
Bruce, tell us. Aberrance? Yeah. Tell me and Eric and the listeners that are we missing something with this Mongolian horror film that you spend a lot of time watching?
It's not that long. I think it's like an hour and 20 minutes or something. So it's not too bad. It's not too long. And Eric, I would have really been interested to see Eric watch this because I know how Eric loves like a plucky indie, unsuspecting movie. Like, you just think of the Yak in the Classroom and stuff like that. This is not Yak in the Classroom, but I mean, just a movie from someplace you just never expect to get a movie from. I did not expect to watch any Mongolian horror movies this year. And now I can say I have. So that alone is worth the price of admission. So the basic story of this, it's funny because you tell the story and then it's like, this doesn't sound spectacularly weird. It sounds pretty normal. It's not like Mongolian, whatever that means. Anyway, it's directed by Batar Batsuk. I will say the names of the two main characters. I will not say their actual names because I am just going to give up and not try. We have Urkmi. My name is Perkme. Yeah. Urkmi. Urkmi is a husband and Selengi is his wife. And it basically starts out with them driving out to like a, kind of like what we would call a summer cabin, but they're going off to like stay in this place. And summer cabin in Mongolian is very snowy, as you might guess. They go out to this cabin. It's a really cool looking cabin. It's really nice. It's not like super rustic or anything. It looks like a cabin anyone would want to stay in. And they get there and she unloads all her paint supplies and stuff. And you find out very quickly she's pregnant. And you also meet the neighbor right away, which surprisingly, there's another cabin. It seems like, I don't know, 20 yards away in this really remote forested setting. There's another cabin right there. And they meet the neighbor and he seems like a totally nice, if not kind of mild mannered dude. And very quickly it appears that, the husband, Urkmi, is very, very severe. and very strict and possibly abusive. Right out of the gate, you see him doing things like, have you taken your medicine? And she's like, she doesn't want to take her medicine. And he's like, shoving the medicine into her mouth. And you're like, oh, okay. No, it's not a great dude. I see. And then, a night or two later, the neighbor's out doing work in his yard or whatever, chopping wood. I forget what he's doing. And he hears screaming and yelling and stuff. And you're like, oh gosh. And then he goes over there like the next day and peers in the window. The husband has left and the neighbor sees that she just happens to be her back facing to him. And he sees that she's all bruised up and battered. And you're like, oh boy. Okay. So I see where this is going. And that's kind of the setup of the movie. And friends appear at a certain point. The neighbor calls the cops at a certain point, which of course escalates things. And for about 2/3 of the movie, I would say this movie was kind of like a, okay, standard, I guess not really a horror movie as much as kind of like a psychological thriller kind of a thing where it's like, how's the neighbor going to save her from this abusive husband, or is the abusive husband going to kill everybody and the friends, or what's going to happen? What's going to go on here? And then it takes a turn and becomes something different than I thought it was going to be. I would say it never soars. It's very rough around the edges. It is very low budget. I don't know what the budget for horror films is in Mongolia, but for what they have, they make kind of a nice, twisty little thriller. So I would say I had a good time with it. I wouldn't say, run out to see it right away. I would say maybe when it's on a streamer, give it a try and see if you like it. But there was some good little twists and turns in this, and it had I would say a satisfying ending for a movie like this.
So the twist upscaled your experience slightly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If it had just kind of gone down the path it was going all the way to the end, I would have been like, oh, okay. But it was more like, oh, okay. So it was like, it was still an okay, but it was like a up okay instead of like, oh, okay, kind of a thing.
Okay. So Aberrance, if that's how you pronounce it, it's in theaters by Freestyle Digital Media somewhere in North America. It's playing in theaters. Doesn't say anything
somewhere in North America.
I mean,
we're going to promote the heck out of this viewing.
I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm sure in the repertory. Look, who knows? Maybe the big twist, it's playing on your local multiplex. I don't know, but it'll be in theaters on Friday. Bruce, what is your? I apologize to the makers of Aberrance. What is your rating on this movie?
My rating is the rating of the week, 3.5 stars.
3.5 stars. Solid, twisty experience and review from the aforementioned Bruce Perky out of Aberrance. I don't know, Eric. Do you think Eric Holmes is going to 3.5 it, or does he get a 3-star bang the heck out of Aberrance when he sees it?
He might 3-star bang. Did you see it?
Oh,
Eric? No. I could see. I could see Eric, if he's in the right mood. I could see this possibly really, really hitting for Eric.
Okay. All right. So that is Aberrance. Apologies to Bruce that I didn't see it. I think I can't wait to your box pick because I think you have a classic movie coming up towards the end of the episode. I think it has to do with Jacques Tati. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but we'll get to that shortly. Now, let's get to me and Eric. You know what? I've said Invicta so many times. It's not Invicta. It's Vindicta, as in like vengeance. But for some reason, I keep on saying Invicta. I don't know. But the movie is called Invicta. See, I said the movie's called Invicta. The movie is called Vindicta. It's out in select theaters and available to buy on digital via Paramount Movies. Elena Kampouris, again, I'm a biased fan of Kampouris and her work. I hope Eric considers himself a biased fan as well, because Eric and I did a really cool hang with not Elena Kampouris, with one of the other actresses and the director for Children of the Corn. We had a really great hang with them. I enjoyed the movie and we talked spoilers. So anyways, I'm assuming that you like Kampouris as well. She plays a paramedic on she's in training, but the thing is her boss, played by Sean Astin, tells her to go out into the field because they are lacking in paramedic workers in, I guess, this really downtrodden section of the city, which I believe it's set in Seattle. So you see the set and it's a lot of looting. There's homeless people there. Amidst all of this stuff in this city, there is a serial killer who wears a white mask and he beheads the opening act. He beheads someone and then he actually puts someone up in the air. There's a lot of torture sequences. It's not a violent movie, but there's a lot of torturous moments by this killer in this mass killer. So ultimately, Elena Kampouris' character, as well as her co-worker, these paramedics, they are threatened by this killer who is terrorizing the city. The movie also stars Jeremy Piven as Elena Kampouris' father, And it's, again, directed by Sean McNamara, a filmmaker whose movies I just biasly enjoyed. I have not seen his latest film with Dennis Quaid, On a Wing and a Prayer, which is on Prime Video. But I can tell you this, I did enjoy Kamporis as the lead in Vindicta. She has a really cool third act moment when she has she has a really great showdown with the killer, and she says a very memorable line, which we're not going to repeat because that's a spoiler. But I enjoyed this movie. I had a fun time watching Vindicta. Is it going to change the world? No, but as a B-level action film with a solid lead, had a good time watching Vindicta. My rating for it is 3.5 out of 5 stars. And that is Eric Holmes' rating for Vindicta as well, right, Eric? So I'm just saying.
No, my rating will be much lower than that. But to what I want to say is that my star rating, the chasm between the star rating and how much I enjoyed this movie is probably the furthest that has ever been. Much like Children of the Corn. Like I wouldn't call this a good movie, but this is like kind of took me back to like old straight to video action movies where it's like or thrillers. It's like I think Sylvester Stallone had one called ICU. Like this is kind of that kind of movie. But man, I was totally in for it. Like I was ready for that kind of diet. And I think between this and Children of the Corn, like Elena Kamporis, like she kind of fits into these kind of movies pretty well.
Very good.
And it sounds weird to say, but I kind of hope she keeps doing these B movies. And I'd like to see her do one or 15 with like Nicolas Cage. Just have like Elena Kamporis and Nicolas Cage just go on a run where they do nothing but B movies, like 10 of them in a row. And it's weird because this is not a good movie, but damn it if I didn't have a fun time watching it. It's kind of like Seven, but like, hey, I want to make Seven, but we don't have the budget and we don't have the scripts. We don't have the talent that Seven does, but damn, we're going to try and make it anyway. And that's kind of what this turned into. Yeah.
So that's
I would probably give this
1 star.
I would give this 2 stars, but I give it the Kamporis bump of 2.5 stars. So I'll go 2.5 on this. Just know this is not a good movie, but I think some of the people listening, like Chad Wilfong, for example, he might lean into this more than other people. I don't know that that's the case, but I feel like that's kind of the temperament you need to have going into this one. And if you get in the right headspace, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. If you're going into this thinking it's 7, you're going to be sorely disappointed.
Again, I've mentioned our bias for Elena Kamporis. There is no Kamporis bump with this. I think this is a good movie, and maybe I'm completely wrong. Here's the most important thing. Go check this movie out. You can yell at me, or you could agree with Eric, or you could yell at Eric and silently agree with me on whether Vindicta works for you. I don't know. I don't know what Bruce would have given Vindicta. Probably, who knows? I think it's good. Eric, I don't know if we whetted.
Who knows?
I don't know if we whetted Bruce Perky's interest on Vindicta. Yes, Eric.
You know the best way to describe Vindicta? Guilty pleasure. This is a movie everyone will watch and say, this movie sucks. But there's going to be people who watch it. So it was actually my favorite movie of the year. I don't want to tell you.
Or people will go, I really hated that movie. I'm going to have to watch it again. Right. It's one of those.
Yeah. Those people certainly exist. And I might be one of them.
I like that. Very complex review from Eric Holmes for Vindicta. So that is our features for this week. And look, we're not done yet because we have some really great films to cover. There are some recommendations from Eric Holmes. There's actually 2 recommendations before we get to Bruce Berkey's box movie of Playtime. Eric, what do you got to recommend or maybe not recommend to our Cinematics listeners?
All right. First one, we have Monsters of California. It's a new movie. Tom DeLonge of Blink-182. It's his directorial debut. It's mostly a comedy, like a comedy horror, alien horror. Teenager Dallas Edwards and his derelict friends on a quest for the meeting behind a series of mysterious paranormal events in Southern California, the Great Bay of California. there's a bunch of if you follow Tom DeLonge, you know that he's into like alien conspiracy theory stuff, and that's all definitely here. I think where this movie works the best is as a comedy, because Tom DeLonge, if you follow Blink-182, you know he's everyone in the band's has pretty good humor, but also if you're into that kind of humor, I thought the comedy was really strong. What surprised me is the action scenes, and there's a couple of action scenes and scary scenes with maybe ghosts or aliens, or there's a scene with a Bigfoot. Those actually all were really good. I think where this fails the hardest is that there's some scenes that they try to get some like emotional connection with the audience, and it just doesn't work. Probably because they're leaning too much with the scares and the comedy, that when they get the emotion in, it's just not as strong. But I think for a first, for a directorial debut, that's a pretty good one. And if you like Blink-182 and you like Tom DeLonge's humor, this one's a no-brainer for a lot of those type of people.
And if you like Casper Van Dien, my goodness, he's in this as well. Oh, that's pretty.
Oh yeah, him, Richard Kind. Richard Kind's really good. Casper Van Dien's, I mean, you know what? I take back what I said earlier about Nicolas Cage. Elena Kampouris and Casper Van Dien need to be in a bunch of movies together. In fact, if Elena Kampouris was in this, that would have got a Kampouris bump as well. So this one's kind of hard to recommend to say someone like Bruce, because I know that my sense of humor and Bruce's sense of humor don't always match up. Mm-hmm. Unless it's coming out of my mouth, and it always does. But
indeed,
yeah, I would judge this based on what you think of Tom DeLonge and his brand of humor, and if you like it, go into it, and if you don't, this might even be a little better than you might think.
Okay, so what is your personal rating on Monsters of California?
I mean, this has 3-star banger all over it. It definitely has its specific audience, and that audience is going to love it. And the ones that aren't that audience, I think it might pull a couple more people in that wouldn't otherwise. But it's definitely it definitely has its lane, and it kind of stays there.
Okay, so the movie Monsters of California, directed by Blink-182's Tom DeLonge, it's in theaters and on demand on Friday, December 5th, and 3-star banger from Eric Holmes. And also it comes out on DVD December 5th. So make sure, Eric, you put in your request for the DVD. Hopefully you'll get a review copy and you can review it as well. We'll possibly. We will see for Monsters of California. And then you have one more recommendation, Eric.
Yeah, well, 1.5. But the 57 Seconds, directed by Rusty Cundiff, written by Rusty Cundiff and Megan Blair, stars Josh Hutcherson, Morgan Freeman. Basically, Josh Hutcherson saves Morgan Freeman from Crazy Killer, and Morgan Freeman drops his ring, and he takes off, and Josh Hutcherson picks it up, and he's like, "Oh, it's a cool looking ring." And at one point, he kind of bumps it, and he goes back in time 57 seconds. He's like, "What the hell?" And then this is kind of like one of those things that's. Every time he touches the ring, he goes back 57 seconds, but he's got to wait for the ring to recharge before he can go back. It has all the rules set up. Early on, he uses the ring to go to a casino to get a bunch of money, buys a car. He meets a girl that he likes at a job that he had before he went to the casino and didn't need the job anymore. But he falls in love with this woman, and they start to have sex, and he kind of keeps fucking things up and hits the 50 seconds back so he can go back and try things over. It's a really fun movie that kind of really leans into its premise. This one too is also a little straight to video, but it's a little better than that, I think. The finale, or the last third kind of gets a little ridiculous. But everything leading up to it, and how they play with the whole 57 seconds, all the things that he does with that power, is pretty fun to watch. Okay. So, yeah.
So just a very little Rusty Cundiff, who you're going to interview tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I interviewed him. This is how old I am, Eric. I interviewed him 2 years into my job as an entertainment journalist in 1993. He directed a movie called Fear of a Black Hat. So that was over 30 years ago. So that's when I guess, and that would probably make him one of the first crop of people I interviewed just 2 years into my. Those were the salad days, weren't they, Bruce? When we were young and.
Yes.
All right, and Eric, the youngster Eric Holmes gets to interview Rusty Cundiff tomorrow for 57 seconds. Again, it's currently it's out in theaters right now, I believe, Eric, and it's also is it on demand? I'll check if it's on. Okay.
So you can rent it or buy it on demand. Or
okay.
Probably more of a rental than a buy, but I think some people are going to have some fun with this.
Okay.
As far as like star rating of the type, I'm torn between a 3.5 and a 4.
Okay.
You know what? I'll go 4 because I think it takes the premise and has a lot of fun with it. So if you dig the premise of you touch a ring and you go back 50 seconds in the past, that sounds like something you have fun watching. This definitely does that, and it does it pretty well.
Okay, very, very cool. That is 57 seconds. That is 4 stars from Eric Holmes. So, sounds like a very interesting film. I just got this email from Therese Regan, and it says, thanks, we will get you a link today or first thing tomorrow. Press notes attached. The press notes are for this movie called The Kane Mutiny Court Martial. So
nice.
Yeah, so hopefully we will get
I've heard of that
screener link from that William Friedkin movie. We all love William Friedkin. So who knows, maybe we'll review it next week over on Cinematics. Now, Peter Beta, who I will one day, our paths will cross. But until then, we have to play the wonderful music of Middle Class Film Class, right? What does he do every single week, Eric Holmes, with that beautiful melodic thing that he does? What does he do?
Yo, Pete, gently place that beat down and smooth it out.
Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
What's in the box?
Pain.
All right, we're back. Bruce, to close out the show, will you actually reach out to our Cinematics Facebook group listeners about this movie? And I think it was Jeff Basson was saying, oh, I really love Tativille, or you need to research this movie. And I'm thinking, dude, that sounds like a lot of homework. You were probably living in Tativille for years, Jeff Basson. We love you. We loved your recommendation a couple of years back when we did a Days of Heaven episode together. Love you, Jeff Basson. But he really loved the movie. And I think someone else really loved the movie. Playtime. A lot of people call this movie a masterpiece. Let's hear what it is, and hopefully it reaches that level.
Neither of you seen Playtime, I take it, right?
Or Mr. Hulot's Holiday.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of Mr. Hulot's movies, I guess, with that character that Jacques Tati has in his movies. I think I heard about this on, I wanted to say before, I think I heard it on Joe Dante's show. One of his people that he had on there was talking about it. And French classic cinema is a huge blind spot for me. So I have 2 or 3 different classic, French renowned movies in the box here, so I can eventually get to them. This is the first movie I've seen by Jacques Tati. This is a very, very notorious movie for production purposes because he basically built, it sounds like he built like a whole little block to film this and control it all, including multi-story buildings with working elevators and all thousands and thousands of tons of glass, because almost every window in here and every wall is glass almost in this thing. I guess this must have inspired, the Lovers on the Bridge for going crazy on productions. But either way, it's really hard to describe this movie if you haven't seen it. It's a very, very, very particular flavor. Let's just say, and it's not this, so don't get too worried yet. It's not like Wes Anderson in a sense, but there's no way that Wes Anderson has not seen some Jacques Tati in his life and probably been highly influenced by it. Not in necessarily the plotting, because this movie is nothing like Wes Anderson's plots and quirky characters at all. But as far as the meticulous sets and really, really highly structured and controlled environments that Wes Anderson has, this movie has that. What is this movie? So for me, it's a cross between like this space age, like Mad Men level production look mixed with a nearly silent movie. There's lots of sound in it, right? But there's hardly any like straight ahead dialogue scenes. You're following lots and lots and lots of characters interacting in spaces, and there's almost this level of meticulous slapstick and visual storytelling and humor mixed into like social commentary that's just almost hard to describe if you don't see it. A perfect example would be, so it starts out with a bunch of American tourists. They're coming into the airport. You follow them onto the bus, and as they get off the bus, they're coming into this like, there's just like this block basically where you have this huge office building, you have an expo going on, you have a brand new restaurant opening, and you're going to have set pieces in each of these locations. For example, in the restaurant, this is about a 2-hour movie, by the way. The restaurant is a set piece that lasts probably about 45 minutes. And it is like the most crazily scripted, almost slapstick, but like if you could have subtle slapstick, that's essentially what you're getting out of this. And I don't know, I can't even describe it. I'm going to really terribly describe it. For example, the restaurant scene. Mr. Hulot, by the way, he does not have much in this. I guess he's a known character in all these Tati movies, but he kind of wheels his way through all these different settings. So he kind of is, you follow him along. Like you follow him along through this expo where they're doing things like all these different boxes of displays. And, you know, one of them is a guy that's made a door that won't make any sound when you slam it. So he's demonstrating how you can slam it and be angry and not make a noise. And then there's just ongoing slapstick around that. But the restaurant has just been built. It's opening. It's the first day. And half of the stuff in there doesn't work. The electricity doesn't quite work. The waiters don't quite know what's going on. They've got these brand new chairs. And the whole theme of this restaurant is like a crown. Like a crown is kind of their logo. So the backs of these chairs are like these metal wrought iron crowns. And right out of the gate, the first guy that stands up that's been sitting in the chair now has pressed into his suit back a crown. And then, so you have all these little things like that just kind of interweave. You know, there's a scene where a waiter rips his pants on the crown, right? So he runs outside and he finds another waiter, says, "Hey, change me your pants. I can't wear these pants." So the guy outside that's smoking now has these ripped pants. And throughout the whole sequence, people keep coming back to him and replacing parts of their torn up suits until the guy that's outside smoking has the most ramshackle suit in the world. And it's just weird stuff. Like a perfect example is Mr. Hulot shows up at the restaurant at some point. They have these big glass doors. Everything has glass, windows, everything. These glass doors with these big round brass doorknobs. So the only metal on the whole door is a doorknob. And he's tug-of-warring with it, and the whole door shatters. So for the whole rest of this 45-minute sequence, the doorman is standing there holding the doorknob, but holding it in the position of the door and constantly moving back and forth to give the impression that there's a door there because it's a glass door, and then people aren't noticing that it's not a glass door. And there's just a whole slapstick around that. This has got like about 20 interconnecting, ongoing story arcs that weave from place to place to place that you can't even hardly notice unless you're watching the details. And the people that love this say that you can watch it over and over again and just follow one of those threads. Like you can follow the little dog, or you can follow the guy that's just doing repairs, or you can follow the guys that are running up to Hulot all the time. And it's a ton of fun. It's visually super inventive. It's not quite the same, but I say if you love Mr. Bean, you might like this, because it kind of has a little of that flavor where it's not silent, but it kind of feels silent, and it has very weird visual humor. I quite enjoyed it a lot.
This really fit your aesthetic as far as the viewing of it?
Yeah, and it's visually impeccable, and the sets are freaking mind-blowing, and the compositions are insanity. I know you probably saw some of the stills I posted up there, and these are all concrete sets, you know, and you see some of the compositions he has, and there's just like, it's like Kubrick level control that he's got over the space that he's built. He's probably a freak like Kubrick too. I think he went way into debt on this movie. I think it was originally, at the time when 67, I think it was cost like 1.7 million, but he ended up blowing it up to like 17 or 18 million, this movie. So
my goodness,
yeah.
that must have wrecked him.
I think it did.
Oh my goodness. Does this make you excited to see more of his stuff then? Because
it does. And I heard the other stories are a little more around the main character Hulot and like his kind of misadventures. And I guess he always kind of has this kind of humorous side to everything he does. I've heard that some of the other ones are actually better movies, but this one's kind of considered his like technical masterpiece. And some of the comments I was reading, I guess they replayed this recently in 70 millimeter. He would only let it be projected in 70 millimeter. When he put this out, that probably cost a lot of money too, because only certain theaters could do 70 millimeter. He would never let it be presented anything but 70 millimeter, because the way it's designed is he films everything in medium sort of shots. So every shot is choreographed with possibly up to 15, 20, 30 different people, all choreographed, doing things within this frame. And to be able to see it all and all the detail he's got going on, you've got to see that. Perfect. There's another example. At one point in the restaurant, and I'll stop talking about this, but the heat goes out, or heat goes up. The air conditioning goes down, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's so hot now! It's so hot! We're blowing up!" Here. And there's a shot where they're all at a bar, and behind them there's this airplane model, because it's space age, right? They have these like jet airplane model just on the back counter. And you don't even notice it until all of a sudden you notice it's drooping, slowly drooping from the heat, just stuff like that. And it's actually happening in real time. It's just there as a visual joke. You don't have to even notice it because there's like 20 other things in the frame going on. But that's the way this movie is. It's just full of weird little visual jokes.
And it's funny.
Yeah, I think it's funny, and it's kind of more like an amazing magic trick almost.
Wow.
Watching it.
Wow. So that is Bruce's review for What's in the Box. It's Playtime. That is box movie selection this week. Let's see what Bruce's selection for next week is for his What's in the Box. Very good, Bruce, on Playtime. I really want to see this movie.
And it's one of those movies you could probably watch a segment of it at a time. Like, it's almost like an anthology, right? Like there's a sequence in a building, there's a sequence in an expo, there's a sequence in a restaurant. So you could pick one of those sequences and watch, 35, 40 minutes and be fine. I mean, there's not a plot really,
What's in the bleeping box, Bruce?
The box has another classic movie I've been meaning to watch forever. I think you'll be excited about this one. Directed by Nicholas Harbord.
Yes, very good.
Suggested by Nicholas Harbord. Shock Corridor.
Yes, Shock Corridor. Have you seen Shock Corridor?
I have not.
Eric Holmes?
No.
That's Fuller, right?
Yes, that's Samuel Fuller, Shock Corridor. That is a big piece of homework for next week. So next week we will be doing Shock Corridor. I did forget before we leave, there were a couple of movies that are coming out. We covered a lot of movies this week. There's The Exorcist Believer. There's not much I'm going to say about the plot. All I know is David Gordon Green, he is best known for his work on those Halloween movies, but he's always captured my heart thanks to, I believe it was All the Real Girls or George Washington.
George Washington. Snow Angels. Did Snow Angels?
Undertow.
Yeah.
That is the David Gordon Green I know. And but no, I haven't seen the Halloween movies.
Eastbound and Down, the TV series.
Of course, he is a frequent collaborator with Danny Bleepin McBride. And am I assuming that Eric Holmes, maybe if you have time this weekend, if you're not working a 9 to 5 on your gig, you might see The Exorcist Believer. Are you going to do that? No.
I kind of wish David Gordon Green would get away from
get away.
He did the Halloweens, and those are I like what he did there. Move on, dude. He's a much more creative filmmaker than this, and who knows? Maybe The Exorcist is great, but I don't have any. I have no.
Well,
desire
he's still
to
got
watch
his Alien trilogy to do right after Alien 2 takes place, and he's still got his
yes,
his Psycho. He's got a Psycho trilogy to do still. I know that's coming.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it feels like he's spinning his wheels with this, and I haven't seen the movie. Maybe it's great, but like
you want more George Washington from him, right? You want more.
I want to do more Snow Angels or more. What's that comedy he did that everyone hates but I love?
Our Brandon's Crisis. What?
No, it's my fucking brain. Danny McBride, and it's like a Lord of the Rings sort of thing.
How High?
Oh,
no, not How High.
No.
Your Highness.
Your Highness.
Oh, Your Highness.
Yeah. Yes.
I knew it was something with high in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I really like that one as much as everyone hates it. They can kick rocks for all I care. That one's hilarious. The Exorcist, just no interest whatsoever.
Okay, so and then The Exorcist Believer. None of us will watch it. Let us know if you guys see it this weekend. Tell us what you think over at Cinemax.
I might watch it.
Oh, Bruce might watch it. He'll tell us what he thinks.
This is like a perfect take my kid to it, and we'll both like hate watch it because it's stupid.
And you can hate watch it, and you can actually look. If someone actually ask you, Bruce, why did you spend your hard-earned money with your kid to see this, The Exorcist Believer? Just say, hey, Ellen Burstyn from The Exorcist was in it, so I had to see. I had to throw down for that anniversary with Ellen Burstyn. Yes, Eric.
You know what movie is good? Tokyo Cowboy. It's playing the festival circuit.
Okay.
I may be jumping the gun a bit, but
jumping a little, yeah, but no, not really, because it's going to be at the Tallgrass Film Festival on October 7th. So what do you want to tell us about it?
Tallgrass Film Festival, October 7th, Heartland International Film Festival, the 9th and the 11th, Montana Film Festival on the 13th and 15th, Hawaii International Film Festival on 13th and 16th, Newport Beach Film Festival, October 19th, and Ojai Film Festival, November 6th.
Ojai. It's Ojai.
Ojai.
Yes. Sorry. No, don't worry. It's Ojai. Don't worry.
It's basically about this guy. He's a Tokyo businessman. They own a Wagyu company, and he goes to Montana to try to get them to upgrade their farm to raise Wagyu cows. They're like, we can't afford that. What you need to know is Rata Iura, probably best known for a movie that we saw called Air Doll, 2009's Air Doll.
Right.
He was in that. And cinematography, the movie looks gorgeous. The cinematography is by Oscar Jimenez, who did Killing of Two Lovers and Integrity of Joseph Chambers. So if you are near any of those places where it's just doing the film festival circuit right now, if you're in the area, it's a very charming movie. Go check it out. And we'll probably review it, maybe do a full review later on down the road when it actually has a release date. But yeah, if you can check it out at a film festival, go for it, because it's
oh really my god! And it stars one of my favorite actors, Robin Weigert from Deadwood. She's in it, so I'm sure she plays a prominent role. Eric, she's good in it.
I think she's the one that
she's the main character.
Or she's the one that runs the ranch.
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah,
she's good. Okay, all right. Here, I was gonna just cast you away and just run over Tokyo Cowboy, and you made it a great. Okay, I'm excited for that. Also, finally, the Royal Hotel also opens October 6th. Julia Garner from Ozark. Bruce, tell me how much you love Julia Garner from Ozark. Did you see Ozark? Have you seen that?
Ozark, The Assistant.
Yes.
Lots of different things. Yeah,
she's so good. And then also Jessica Henwick. They play, I guess, Americans, and they go backpacking in Australia. They get a job working behind the bar of a pub called the Royal Hotel. Yes,
and there's a documentary about that very same sort of subject. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll try to look it up by next week.
Please do.
I feel like Joseph Bridges or somebody recommended that to us, and I remember watching it. And it's about how people that are backpacking and going through Australia, especially women, will get sucked into these weird bars and basically be like, it's almost like a Hooters kind of situation, but like in super hardcore outback like locales.
Oh my gosh. My goodness. So yeah, that is a premise of the Royal Hotel. Hopefully once Bruce actually has the title, once we hunt down that documentary, we'll mention it next week on Cinematics. But again, the Royal Hotel in select theaters this Friday. My bad for not getting us links. I emailed the PR people. They're going to see if they can get all three of us some links for the Royal Hotel. I'm sure if we have enough time, we will review the Royal Hotel next week, because one of my favorite outbacky kind of movies is this movie called Wake and Fright. Still is, I just sweat thinking about that movie. That is an intense. Didn't you love Wake and Fright, Eric Holmes? Did you see that? And you love that, Bruce?
No.
I know.
What?
I need to
Eric
see
needs to watch Wake and Fright like yesterday.
My god! Look, okay.
Wake and Fright. If there's an Eric movie,
is that the one where they kill all the kangaroos?
Yes.
I know.
Wait.
Wait. Obviously, is that why you're not watching? Of course, that's why.
I'll watch it. I actually thought Bruce had it in the box.
Wake and Fright? Probably.
I did watch it for sure. I mean, I think I watched it after Anderson talked about it originally, way back when.
Yeah.
I should have watched it.
I was there with Anderson talking about Wake and Fright.
That's right. You guys both talked about it. I forgot there was another person there.
See how forgettable I am, Cinematics listeners. I'm glad you guys are here to check out Bruce and Eric's reviews. They do a lot of the heavy lifting every single week on Cinematics. That's why we end the show usually with them and my niece. Eric, you have final thoughts before we go?
Next week we got Divinity, Dear David, and Mr. Organ. I've seen one of those, and it's a mind F. And check out the interview with Jonathan Quartos; it's really good. And if anyone would like to play along for the Film Vault board game that I made, hit me up because we'll be doing playthroughs in the future.
You can hit Eric up on hamslime@gmail.com. You can email exactly ham and then slime@gmail.com if you want to learn more about the play along with the Film Vault game, as well as just if you want to hit him up and talk to him, hit up Bruce Perky @gmail.com for further movie recommendations you want to put in the What's in the Box segment. Maybe you put in Mr. Hulot's Holiday. Who knows? Maybe that'll be really interesting. But again, next week we have, like Eric said, Dear David, Mr. Organ, and then we'll see about Shock Corridor. I'm so excited for this movie. Eric and Bruce, you might have to pony up a couple of bucks to go see Shock Corridor, but hopefully you'll like that Samuel Fuller film. We're all Samuel Fuller enthusiasts. Bruce, final words, I guess, before we get to Claire.
Yeah, before I get to Claire, I just wanted to say if you have a suggestion for the Patreon and you're a Patreon member, 2013 is the year, if I remember correctly. And I just want to apologize to Greg. I mean, on this show, I've been kind of in Vindicta.
Okay, that's very funny, Bruce. Stop with the torturing. Here's Claire.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining Cinematics.